We want to go ahead. We are joined today on the Oakland County Megacast with Monica Levine. She is a certified body language trainer and a nonverbal science. Monica, we all need you in our lives right now. How are you today?
I'm so fantastic. It's so nice to be here. The way you're set up, I don't get to see you, so I can't read your body language.
That's okay. I don't have a mask and I am smiling.
Okay, me too. And you can tell when someone is genuinely smiling because fake smiles don't reach the eyes. Real smiles reach the eyes.
Oh, see, that's a good
Good
thing.
one.
So, explain to us exactly about you and what you do.
I teach audiences, groups, and individuals how to positively influence situations and people using nonverbal communication. And nonverbal communication is the art of intuition, mindset training, and the science of body language. All of that put together.
Body language actually gives me away so many times. I may be saying
Me
one
too.
thing, but my face is saying another thing.
Yes. And we get into bad habits. Like one time I was at the border crossing over, and when they asked me the usual question, do you have any cigarettes, alcohol, guns, and pepper spray? I'm shaking my head, yes, as I'm saying, no, I don't. Well, of course, they didn't believe me. Maybe you know some people that do that. I have a friend, and she always says, I'm so excited while she shakes her head side to side. I am so excited. So her body is saying no when she is saying yes. And that happened to me at the border. My mouth was saying no, I don't have any cigarettes, alcohol, guns, and pepper spray. But my head was saying yes, I do. So that did cause some confusion. Fortunately, they did not take my car apart.
Well, that's good to hear. Monica Levine, certified body language trainer with nonverbal science, with us on the Oakland County Megacast. It's different now, or maybe it's even very similar now to in normal times, so to speak, in terms of body language, because we're all over virtual means. We're doing Zoom for a television interview. We're doing Zoom for classes, whether it be high school, middle school, elementary, college, whatever the case may be, and for our work every day as well. How does body language translate, or modifying your body language translate to the virtual sense, so that you're giving off the same kind of positive feel that you want to in normal life, but over a virtual world where there are some key differences?
I really encourage people to be intentional about their body language. So I do have a training on nonverbalscience.com. It's free. It's called Body Language for Video Conferencing. So anyone can go there and watch it. It's 30 minutes. Again, it's free. And today I want to tell you about something to me that's really huge, because nonverbal communication is up to 93% of our communication. Not quite as high when we're over the telephone or when we can't see each other, like I can't see you right now, but it is still very large. And different parts of our brain process different kinds of information. The part of the brain that processes verbal information is different than the part that processes nonverbal. And the part that processes nonverbal, I like to call our primitive brain. It's that ancient part of us that's back in the cave, afraid that someone's going to come in, bonk me on the head, and steal my fire and my food. So it's that very primitive part of us. So when we're in person or on video screen, the thing that I want to see in order to relax is I want to be able to see your hands. Because if I can't see your hands, my primitive brain says, I don't know if that person can be trusted because they're coming towards me. I don't know if they're going to bonk me on the head and steal my fire and my food. So a lot of people, when they're on video chat, they put themselves much too close to the screen. So then the person that's viewing them cannot see their hands. But if you can see my hands, your subconscious mind, your primitive brain will relax, and then you can better absorb the information I'm giving you. So it's very important on video chat to back yourself up enough that the top of the screen is at the top of your head, and the bottom of the screen is around the bottom of your ribs. And so that when you gesture, it's obvious that your hands don't contain weapons. The other person can relax, and you can bond more effectively.
That is such a good tip. And I will say, because we do all of our interviews via Zoom. And even prior to this, as a reporter, we were doing interviews via Zoom. It has been, we see everything. We see everything. It's like the backdrop, too, to me, is so important, and the camera level as well.
Right. You don't want the camera looking down on your nose or looking up your nose, because research has found that when we view someone straight on, we assume that they are friendly, trustworthy, and more intelligent. So we want the camera at eye height. And if I'm on a Zoom call with lots of people, I'm tempted to look at their photographs, right? But really, if I want to make a connection, I need to look at the camera, because then you feel like you and I are connected. You feel like, oh, Monica Levin is looking at me. She's paying attention to me. I feel seen. But if I'm looking somewhere else, you don't feel like I am fully engaged with you.
I'm laughing. So when we first started Virtual World, I was obsessed with backdrops in everyone's homes.
Yes.
Because I feel like it's a glimpse into their life and their personality, but sometimes too, it was too busy, and that I wasn't paying attention to what they were saying. I was looking into what was behind them, and even more so when their camera on their computer wasn't positioned correctly, because I couldn't get the sense of who they were.
That's also because you're like most of us, we're curious. A friend of mine who's a photographer asked me once, he said, what is the important element in a photograph? Well, I didn't know. He said, every element in a photograph is important, and every element that's in your video screen is important. So do I have dirty laundry in the background? No, I try not to. I also don't have pictures of my family, because you're curious, or I'm curious. If you had pictures of your family, I would be trying to figure out who's the spouse, who's the kid, well, who's that one in the corner? And I'm not paying attention to you. And if you have books in the background, I'm curious. I want to see what you're reading, right? Unless you have books that you wrote and you have them in the background and you want them to be part of your persona. So I choose my background. Usually when I do my virtual workshops, I stand so that I feel more confident. And then the top part of me has the white backdrop, and it's a different angle than what I show here. And I have this photo on the side, and I try and wear a bright color so that your eyes come to me. Your eyes say, there's Monica Levin. And you're not trying to figure out what the picture is. It just looks like a bunch of colors. So even here I have plants, it's neutral, and I try to be intentional about it. As you watch movies, you probably notice, like me, you're saying there are a lot of Apple computers in movies. That's intentional. When someone pulls out cereal, probably cereal manufacturers are paying to have their cereal in the movies. Everything that's in the screen is important. And I tried to have a virtual backdrop at one point, but my hair was a bit longer and really curly, and it just looked like I had a green halo. And even with those virtual backdrops, sometimes your arm will disappear or your face will disappear. So I recommend just using a regular backdrop, and the simpler the better, like you were saying.
I just had this conversation with my husband yesterday because he had to change the backdrop because our office flooded upstairs, downstairs, so we had to move him up into the bedroom. And I'm like, your backdrop is too busy. Take that, and that away. And he's like, no, I want that. I'm like, no. When I'm distracted, I'm not paying attention. But I love your tip about wearing a bright color. But that's great when we're virtual. But what tips do you give us if we're in person and we're in a mask?
In person in a mask, first of all, number one, give yourself a break. Because research has tracked people's eye patterns, meaning where they look, in different situations. When we are in high power business situations, our tendency is to look at the other person's eyes and up to their forehead. When you're in a social situation, people's eyes track between the other person's eyes and down to their mouth. And in an intimate situation, like you and your husband, when you're alone, the kids are out, you're having a glass of wine, you track between the eyes and down to the suprasternal notch, which is essentially where your shirt closes, right? And when we're wearing masks, we want to feel connected. We want to feel friendly. And so our tendency would be to social gaze, which is between the eyes and down to the mouth. And it gets very disconcerting because we can't see people's mouths, right? So give yourself a break. Know that that's what's happening. Your subconscious mind is feeling uneasy because you want to be friendly, you want to be social, but your eyes are tracking up between the other person's eyes and their forehead. So you feel more distant, you feel more businesslike because the body and the mind and the emotions are all connected. One woman that I saw in a meeting, she had painted a smile on her mask. I thought that was lovely because then when you do your social gazing, you're looking between the eyes and down to her mouth, and you can see her mouth smiling, even though it's painted on. And it just created a little bit of relief and really made me realize how much my default gaze is social gazing. I like to connect with people by looking between their eyes and down to their mouth. So when I feel uncomfortable, I just need to be easy on myself and recognize that that's why. Kind of talk to my subconscious mind. Monica, it's okay. You can still be friendly. And we can see most of the 7 universal microexpressions just by looking at the bridge of the nose and the eyes. We can see true happiness. We can see sadness. We can see anger. We can see disgust. We can see, true happiness. So most of the expressions we can see from there, but it's this emotional response to not being able to see their face, their mouths. So just recognize that that's a normal response to not being able to see the mouth. And it's the subconscious mind, your primitive brain, that is creating this emotion in you.
Monica Levin with us. She is a certified body language trainer at Nonverbal Science, joining us today on the Oakland County MegaCast. And Monica, earlier you talked about the importance of smiling and genuine smiling when you're in a virtual sense, and how you can tell the difference between someone's genuine smile and their not so genuine smile. But for some people, this is a really stressful time. This is a time where they got a lot going on, but they need to be professional. They need to be cordial. They need to be friendly in a professional sense, in an educational sense if they're virtual learning or if they're a virtual teacher. What do you suggest for them in order to maintain a friendly demeanor and a professional demeanor in a virtual sense with all that's going on in the world behind them without it coming off as being fake?
Well, only genuine smiles, of course. And if you want to reduce your stress because we're feeling uneasy, you can do what's called power posing. And I cover this in the free workshop that I have on nonverbalscience.com, the free workshop called Body Language for Video Conferencing. It's to prepare yourself before you present, before you negotiate, before you teach, is to stand in a high power position, like a Wonder Woman, Superman position with your chest up, your shoulders down, breathe down into your belly. Imagine that you have roots going down into the earth from your feet. So you calm down your fight or flight instinct, right? If we start to breathe up in the top of our chests, we're signaling that we're ready to fight or fly, fight or flight. So breathe down into your belly to relax yourself so that you can stay open and genuine. And to be open to ideas, you keep your body open because the body, the mind, and the emotions are all connected. If you start crossing your arms in front of you, your primitive brain, the part that's in the back in the cave, worried about your food and your fire, right? Your primitive brain says, I don't feel confident. I don't feel safe, because when we don't feel safe, we cover our vulnerable organs because we're trying to protect ourselves. And science has shown that when we cross our arms or block our bodies or block our mouths or our eyes, we actually don't absorb information as easily. When I'm taking an online class, I make sure to keep my arms open so that information can literally reach me, whether it's to my body, again, connected to my mind and my emotions. So calm yourself down with power posing. Keep your feet on the ground, and when you get a little nervous or uncomfortable, wiggle your feet. Imagine roots going down into the earth, and keep your body open so you can absorb information.
Monica Levine with us, certified body language trainer, nonverbal science. Such good information that you are giving us right now. I think so many of us don't pay enough attention to our body language. I'm a hand talker and I'm a hugger, which has been really hard during this pandemic. And I love meeting strangers. And you can't, I think when you're trying to meet a stranger, it's hard to cross that barrier. But I will say, when you're talking about nonverbal, and let's say you do have a virtual presentation or a virtual meeting, would you recommend people record themselves prior just to understand some of the movements that they are making that maybe they don't even understand that they're doing?
Becoming conscious of it is a good step. And if anyone needs help with that, they can call me and we can go through the presentation together. Because sometimes when you look at yourself, you get so hard on yourself and you don't even give yourself a break. But if you, for example, need to give a presentation and you know the words, you've written all the words, I can help you determine what nonverbal signals you can use. For example, if you have two things you're covering, you can show people that you have two. If you're talking about a choice between two objects, choice A and choice B, then you can have your gestures help tell your story, because you want to engage the other person's full brain. And if up to 93% of their brain is occupied interpreting your nonverbal, if you have no nonverbal, they can get distracted. So you want to keep their attention by using gestures and head tilting and leaning and eyebrow raises, etc., so that you can get your point across.
So over exaggerate your movements. Good tips there. I will say, in one way, this has helped me out, because the other day at the grocery store, I had to have my mask on and someone was being, let's just say, not polite. And I may have stuck my tongue out at them through my mask and they never saw me.
Lovely.
Well, that's handy that way.
Okay, so I'm going back to being a second grader. I can't help it, but I took advantage of being able to wear a mask. Obviously, if I didn't have the mask on, I never would have done that. But just about 30.
But they might have read your body language anyway.
Oh.
You might have closed your body, leaned back, turned away, and stuck out your tongue. Right?
Maybe. I will say it wasn't directed to me. It was how they were interacting with someone else, in which I did that. So I thought they were being rude to another person. That wasn't even my story to even tell. At any rate, we have about 30 seconds left with you. You've already offered so many great tips. Monica Levine with a certified body language trainer, nonverbal science. Any last words you want to give to our listeners and our viewers, and also where can they contact you?
You go to nonverbalscience.com. I am here in Michigan, so contact me through there. And I have a library on there with lots of tips, short little videos, just 2 minutes long, short videos that explain different body language tips and theories that you can use. I also have the free training, and you can contact me to train your sales teams, leadership teams, or customer service teams.